This is the new Tamron 70-180 f2.8 G2. Let's find out if it's the right lens for you. Welcome to my OnlyLens review of the new Tamron 70-180 f2.8 G2 lens. It's time to share my thoughts and experience with this lens. Tamron was very kind enough to send me the new Tamron 70-180 f2.8 G2 lens to test out and give you my thoughts. They have no input into what I'm going to say about this video or reviewing or anything. They were just kind enough to loan me this lens to talk about my experience, see if it'll help you out, to see if it's the right lens for you. I recently posted a couple videos using it for my initial tests and kind of getting to do some street photography, portraits, and things of that sort. So I just wanted to kind of give you a rundown about what this lens is about, who could it be for, and to see my experience with it, a little bit of the spec side of things as well, just to kind of clear anything up for you guys to see if it's the right decision for you or maybe something else. Let's get the little boring part out, the spec stuff, because, well, in reality, it's just kind of similar to the previous version. To be honest, the main difference is to me at least that I've noticed, is the vibration compensation, kind of like for stabilization, that it comes with this one versus the previous one that it didn't have it apparently. This one comes in at $12.99 and the previous one came out to $11.99, which on sale sometimes they have for like $10.99 or you can find it used. So that's something to look into to see if it makes sense for you or which one would make more sense when it comes down to the price point for a telephoto lens. They're both lenses of the 70-180 at f2.8. They have the 67mm thread size, so you're not really getting much change for them. It comes from the previous version of it to this one. So that way you kind of know a little bit of the head of the start, but yeah, you get your custom buttons and things of that sort. It zooms out, and that's pretty much it for the more spec side of things and the price point. Now, this lens has been a really great and cool little telephoto lens because I got the first version of it and I really loved it, and I think the new version of it is really great still. I don't think it's that much different from the previous version, so depending on if you're wanting that, vibration compensation and spend a little bit of extra money on it, it could be the right lens for you. But if you don't want to do that, then I would just kind of find the previous version either on sale or used, because I'm sure people are going to be selling it to get maybe the new version, or they probably got something else like the 35-150, just like how I did. This lens is a great lens if you're trying to have a more telephoto lens only, because it has from the 70-180. I chose to go with the 35-150 because it had a little bit of that wider range, as well as going to a little bit of the telephoto range into the 150. This one obviously gives you that extra 30mm range, which is nice if you're wanting to do a little bit more from farther away. Now, is it going to be that drastic of a difference when it comes down to this one to the 35-150 for that 30mm range? Probably not. But there is a bigger difference from the 70 all the way down to the 35 and not getting that action. So that's one of the reasons why, for me, this lens has been not the most ideal anymore, and that's why I went with the 35-150. But despite of all that, I think this lens is a really great telephoto lens if you're wanting to get just a telephoto lens. It has a great range, it has that f2.8, so it's going to be fast. You don't have to let too much light in like other telephoto lenses. Obviously, you're kind of limited with that as well because you only get to the 180. So if you're wanting to do some wildlife photography, I don't think you're probably going to get that far. This lens is really great if you're wanting to do portraits, if you want to do some sports photography, or just kind of like that kind of style of things where it's more, you can move up or farther away as much as possible. Like, for example, I've used this for my tennis academy, the previous version, and it worked out great because I didn't have to be so close to the people, wasn't distracting my students or anything like that. So it made it quite nice. As well as with, portraits or anything for street photography, it's just really great since you don't have to bother people. You can be farther away since most people can feel intimidated when they see a big setup and it's relatively close to them or a professional camera. So it kind of maybe makes it a little bit easier on the eye if you're farther away and you can zoom in and add that sweet compression. So now, who is this lens for? For me personally, I think if you're looking to find a just telephoto lens to pair up with maybe like your Tamron 20-40 or the 28-75, or maybe you have a 16-35 or 70-28, whatever kind of range like that you want to have just more a telephoto lens, this is a perfect lens for you. If you're wanting to do more portraits, street photography, and some kind of like sport photography where you don't have to be that far away, this is a great lens to have for you as well. I wouldn't recommend this lens if you're trying to have, that really distance away for, sport photography or wildlife, because it won't give you that reach. Despite of it being an f2.8, which is nice because most telephoto lenses that have like the 50-400 by Tamron, I think it's like a 5.6 to 6.3 kind of start of lens, which It's not the end of the world, but that means you have to crank up that ISO to be able to get some sharp images, because if you want to have something in motion, you want to have as much light as possible. So just keep that in mind when looking into this lens to be your telephoto lens. For me personally, I think you'll be enjoying the vibration compensation. I did some handheld videos and it worked pretty fine. It's not going to be extraordinary like having, you know, a nice gimbal or something like that, but if you have maybe a newer camera like the A7R5 with the more stabilization style, or the ZV-E1 or A7C Mark II, and they have like the new stabilization kind of thing where it crops in better, it could be the right set for you to use handheld, and you can make some great content that way too. Personally, this lens is not for you if you're wanting to have a more, you know, wider range, like maybe the 35-150. Even though it's more expensive, you can kind of compensate to get rid of other lenses like how I did. So that would be a better option for you if you're wanting to have a little bit more range. I think I'm okay with giving up the 30mm range from the 150 to the 180 versus getting, you know, the 70 to the 35 range and only having 70 to 180. But then also, you know, the price point makes a big difference, since this will be $1,300 versus like $1,900 of the 35 to 150. Overall, I think it's a great lens. I think it's a very kind of niche type of lens. So if you're going to be doing, like I said, portraits or more kind of control environment where you can be farther away but not too far away, it'll be a perfect lens for you. Is it worth it over its predecessor? That's debatable. I think the only good thing that's noticeable to me would be the vibration compensation. So if you're really wanting to do more handheld stuff, because telephoto lenses tend to be more shaky and everything like that, to make sure you have the sharper kind of image, I think it's worth it. If you're not really going to be doing a lot of handheld stuff and you can use a tripod, you're fine with the previous version and save yourself a bit of money that way as well. So it really all comes down to you. Which, speaking about you, I want to leave this question when it comes down to this lens. Do you think it's worth the price from its predecessor, or do you think it's worth it to just get the previous version and save some money, or really spend the extra money to get this one, even though, like, you know, because it has a vibration compensation? We'd love to know your thoughts when it comes down to that, and to see if this would be the right lens for you, and if not, which one would you prefer? But with all that said and done, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.